The reason why Rolo's saying this is because most men don't have that opportunity, right? They don't have the opportunity to even spin plates. So it's one of these things where it's like, he's giving this base level advice for these men who have no options whatsoever. This is a man, again, spinning plates is good idea for a man. If you've ever met a guy who consistently gets in relationships with really, really bad women who consistently control him, and he becomes a simp and he gets whipped because of them. That guy needs to spin plates to see that there are other options and that there are women that are willing to treat him the way that he chooses to be treated. Rule number 3 in my program, abundance is always the answer. So from that standpoint, from my standpoint, like if I've dated a bunch of women, spinning plates isn't going to help me or hurt me. But from the majority of people who are going to read his book, and by the way, most men, like we said, 6 sexual partners in their entire life. That's a long life to have 6 sexual partners. I know for you guys it might not be, but for a lot of guys, 6 in their whole life. You played football in college, you talk to some of those guys or bouncers at nightclubs, 6 girls in your whole life. Yeah. Those guys, the fact of the matter is they're going to end up in relationships with the wrong girl. And so while I know you've talked about this before, finding the information to not be in a relationship with the wrong girl, having dates with multiple women is one of the ways for you to figure out, okay, this girl keeps making excuses, keeps ending up talking shit about her ex-boyfriend. Sure. Okay, I'm there's more red flags than Afghanistan in 1983, dude. It's like red flags all over the place. It's like fucking, like you start to see all these red flags that happen because you've been around multiple women. And from that standpoint, immersion around different types of women. Dude, I have been in the church and I have managed a strip club. And I can tell you that you can see I have seen red flags from women in the church where I'm like, this woman has borderline personality disorder. And I've seen women that work in a strip club that are like, I am going to get my master's degree. I am raising my child and I am faithful to my husband. I have seen both things happen.
And the church encourages it too.
But would you acknowledge that even for the men that have access to it, it is a net negative for men
for society.
For society.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you acknowledge that.
Dude, I had this.
So we agree.
Hold on. Shout out to Emily Sears.
Don't be out here thoughting around if you're a guy or a girl.
Stop that. Stop. I had this conversation with Emily Sears and she disagrees with me. Emily Sears is an incredible model. She's I don't know if you guys know, she's an Australian model. She's also a feminist. And we had a discussion about this. And she was talking about a patriarchy. And she was saying patriarchy hurts women. And my example to her was, no, the patriarchy actually hurts low status men. Yeah. Because what's happened is, and you should check out these studies, the number of sexual partners that people have had 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, women stay the same, but there's this one group of men that are having more sex. Yeah. So something doesn't add up mathematically. 33% of men are reporting having 0 sexual partners in the last year, but that's not voluntary. And 80% of men on social media apps or dating apps are deemed unattractive. 63% of men on dating apps are getting, 10% of men are getting 63% of the right swipes. 20% of men are getting 83% of the right swipes. So if that's the case, that what's happened is there's this small group of men who, if you want to say that they're hurting other men, the prescription is this: are we going to change the world? It's not likely. Could you become one of those men? I would like for men to at least put themselves in a position where they have, again, you guys, you're from Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay. Jalen Brunson. I'm not going to make Jalen Brunson a bad, awesome player. I'm not going to tell him which team to play for, but he got $25 million contracts from 2 different teams. And that's what I want for guys to have. I want them to get that max contract from as many different firms as possible. Sure. And so that's what I want to build in men. Now, in that case, does that specifically mean I prescribe having sex with all of them? I do not. Several of my clients are married. Several of my clients have religious reasons and they don't want to do that. Yeah. But several of my clients are like, I was in a marriage. She spent all my money and now I'm single and I want to have sex with a lot of women, or I want to have sex with as many women as I choose to, and they still have that same power if they so choose to do so. Yeah. Is that a net negative on society as a whole? Possibly. I mean, I could definitely see what you're saying. My goal, however, is not the same as yours. Like, my goal is not for everyone to get married in every instance. Some people don't need to be married. So that's the difference.
Well, I talk to a lot of Christian men. A lot of my audience is predominantly Christian men. And I always tell them, while you hear all these things about having sex with a lot of girls, take all the game advice, becoming better, stronger, game, money frame, whatever you want to word it. I think it goes a little bit deeper than that sometimes a lot of people don't get to. But I actually say take away sleeping with women. So there is prescriptions for men that are Christian. You can be Christian and red pill. There's a really good blogger, Doll Rock. I recommend you guys look at. Yeah.
So what's the response that you get from the red pill community when you say things like take away the sleeping around? Yeah. Like what's tip? I know you kind of talked about it in the show before, but for the newer audience, like when you say things like that.
Yeah, I say things from a female perspective. I do radicalize a lot of the ideas, and I'm just trying to push out the stuff that was actually written about. A lot of the stuff we see is stuff that's red meat, like he was saying, where it's like clickbait. So people will take one point, not add the nuance to it, get a rise out of people, and boom, it's content. And so I'm here to say that's not what actually was written.
What was that point that you wanted to clarify on before?
Which one?
It was in the conversation here. You were basically saying like that wasn't the context of it.
You would have to be more specific. I don't
I
remember. If it comes to you, ask me.
Here, let me read these super chats so we can catch up with all of them. Sorry, guys, we were so behind on those. This is some intense ass
conversation. Donnie, you can turn the fan on. It got hot in here, Donnie.
Yeah, that's why I took the hoodie off.
Before we read these chats, chat, go ahead and like the video for us, please.
Yeah,
we got
like,
a fire
subscribe,
show
and comment,
right now.
fam. Let's get it.
Yeah, please do. With the first, can you turn it on? Yeah, it's right there. Thank you, bro.
That's A-Ward.
$10 from A-Ward.
Hey, what's up, A-Ward? God is
Thank you.
good all the time. Let's get it.
Yeah, shout out to you, bro. Thank you. God is good. B and Cheeks, $5. I got your bills, my friend. Michael Sartain, you MVP. Keep it 100. Ruslan, quit being religious. You're too brilliant.
Wow. No.
Thanks.
No, I think religion is important for men. Whatever that is.
Okay.
Find foundation.
$5 from Bean Cheeks again. Thank you, bro. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. Timothy,
You're damn right.
I love it. It's the bow tie too, man. I'm like, bruh, come on, Cheeks.
I know, dude. What's the next one? Bean Cheeks again, bro, with the 5. Instagram and Facebook.
Tag.
I'm done.
Needs to be abolished completely to bring back some sort of traditional values to these women. I agree with you on that one.
The church is... Okay, wait, Ruslan, I have a question for you.
Okay, real quick.
Do you think the church is woke?
The church?
Yeah.
Like,
This
is
my point. I have the same point.
Which church?
Yeah.
Universal.
The universal church? I don't think the universal church is woke.
So if you were to say North American white Protestant churches are becoming more woke in cities like Boston and Los Angeles, the answer is yes.
Mainline Protestant denominations are more woke.
Okay.
Yes, for sure.
You guys were talking about the Protestant.
But that's a small percentage of the
entire world.
Do you think the church empowers men today in a way that allows them to lead?
I don't think the woke churches.
Hold on. I'm just in general.
I would say the mainline Protestant. It's hard because we don't have good demographics on this. The only people that self-report are the mainline Protestant churches.
Damn it.
Episcopalian, Presbyterian.
Yeah.
They've gone off the rails.
Yeah,
they've gone all the way out. Methodists, they've gone all the way off the rails. So it's hard to gauge what you mean by church. But yes, the mainline. Now, if you're talking like in certain Reformed circles, in certain Calvinistic circles, in certain Free Grace circles, in certain non-denominational circles, Calvary Chapel, those spots, no, they're definitely not woke, and they definitely are empowering men and masculine men.
If a guy was unsure about what to go, like if a guy's like, I want to go to church, I just don't feel like the one that I go to empowers men. It makes me feel like I have to give in to my wife, even if she's wrong. Let's say he's married.
Yes,
what would you recommend to him?
I would honestly,
like, where do you go?
Yeah, well, I've been at the same church for 20 years. I'm really close with my pastor. So honestly, I would recommend it. What church you would go to, or what to do?
Like what church? Like you guys were giving a bunch of different versions. I'm
I mean, there's so many different camps.
That's the thing. Like when you talk about like denominations, and here's a tough part.
So
all the different ones, like subgenres of Christianity.
Okay.
Subgenres. The church genres, like music
subgenre. Yeah.
But the thing is, the tough part is that in the reality of Western church is men don't show up by and large in certain types of camps in certain denominations, you know, especially in like black churches.
Yeah.
Like, but even well, that could also be like just my own personal experience. But even in white churches, sometimes you see, you know, typically even more diverse churches where it's family based, you'll see actual diversity in race and also gender. But more often than not, you're seeing a lot of women that are showing up, and it's not a lot of men in certain churches.
Why do you think that is? That's what I really wanted to ask you guys, and I'm not baiting you. I
do believe that politics does play a lot into
like
lot of how churches operate.
Yeah.
You know, churches in the buildings, certain buildings. But I also think that it kind of just generally speaks onto the point we've kind of touched on. Men are just hurting.
Let me. Can I? Yeah.